So, welcome to the Chattanooga Depression Care Collective member interview series. I'm Regina Gee, and my world's all about telling more whole and helpful stories of depression. And I do it with Wellspring Coaching, and I'm here today with Loren Clifford from Unusually Free. So, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to hear who you are, what you do, how it helps with depression, and why you do it.
Oh my goodness, wow. Okay, I'm excited too. Where shall we begin?
I want to know who you are and what you do first.
Okay, so like you said, my name is Loren Clifford. A lot of the times in the yoga space, I'm affectionately known as Lo. So either or, you hear the name, that's probably me. And I do all things chill yoga, so very clear to distinguish like the more yin, restorative, like let's just lay around and check in with ourselves and be in community and return back to that essence of who we are beneath the noise. I also do Reiki. I'm a Reiki Master, and it's been one of my most favorite modalities, not only to have integrated into my life over the past 10 years, but also to share now more widely with the world. Both through private, like one-on-one sessions. I do very intimate group sessions where I really try to pair it with a modality that's more familiar to people, such as restorative or yin yoga. Looking to potentially do a sound bath infusion one soon. And then I'm launching my first ever training in a week. So it's just been such a big passion of mine to bring out into the world, into the community. So with the yoga part, though, I will add as well that I really like bringing it to unique places. So I teach at a local high school, their yoga education curriculum. I teach at the market. I teach in a park. I've recently been teaching in like a little coffee shop. I've taught in stores, at the art museum, like anywhere we can make it more accessible and break down those studio barriers to people is where I like to find myself most. So yeah, that's the vibe, and all kind of tying in more so again with that reconnection to who you are beneath the noise, to tap into that safety and stillness within, and to remember who you are first and foremost, so that you can live more lightly in this world.
Ooh, lighten up.
Mm-hmm.
Living more lightly. So I heard three things that I really want to like dwell with. The first one was who you are beneath the noise.
Yes, that's my like unusually free tagline.
Yeah.
I say it all the time. It's literally on my website, but I think it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an important concept. What about it drew you? Because I want to hear your thoughts.
So my world is all about depth. It's like, hey, like all this stuff's happening on the surface. Like I've heard it called storm. Like when the storm happens, you go deeper.
Yes.
And hearing like the noise, it makes me think of like static. And like when all of that gets twisty and tangly, how do you get beneath it?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like my other thing I heard was keyword restorative.
Yes.
So it sounds like you have two big modalities that help get below the noise, and you weave them together with the third piece about showing up in your local community. Like you're not just like in a studio all the time. You're like, I'm going to be integrated and weaving in with the people here, the places here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think my personal journey with wellness and healing had really helped move me towards that idea and concept, because I mean throughout life, I mean, and in our society especially, there's all these should do's and who you should be and how you should achieve things and how you should, the way you should make your path to do it. And really the essence of that unusually free living is finding what that path is for you in your own unique, unusual way, and finding that freedom within, even if it doesn't look like what someone else's path looks like, even if it makes no sense to anybody. And I feel like one of the main ways you can do that is by getting in touch with that. So the noise is all here, but who are you below that? What happens when you get still and quiet? How can you understand yourself better? And then in turn, once you have that understanding, both move towards what feels supportive in that and ultimately living out your truth.
Learning the skill set of how to be still and quiet.
That's what I try to teach, because it is, again, I say all these things and it sounds very beautiful, But it is not easy. I will get people coming to my class after they are like really like diehard power yoga, like weightlifters, like they're strong in body. But then when they come and have to be still and quiet for 3 minutes plus for a whole hour, they're like, oh, that's the hardest thing I ever had to do. And I'm like, it's not taught, you know? Doing over being is always the, especially westernized viewpoint of how you're supposed to achieve life. And I say, like, well, what happens if you flip it and you use your practices to teach you another way of being? So that's really important to me too.
Here's where the depression thread is going to start weaving in.
Yes.
Like, I think depression is one of those things that's asking us to learn how to be still. Like, it's kind of a forced stop in some senses, where it's like, hey, you're going to stop because you have to now. And like, when you do that, how do you get below the surface and listen to what that stop's trying to tell you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's not that it's easy. And a lot of the time too, I always like to make this point, is safety and let me rewind that. Stillness does not always feel safe to everybody. So that's why another big layer of the work I do, and I have a variety of ways to do it, is one-on-one with me, where you can build that container. Sometimes a group setting where everyone's trying it out feels safe, but really trying to hold and create that sacred space for someone to even dwell in it, to even try it, you know? And just to also remember, like, we're not alone, and that's a huge part of my work too. Just making sure people know, like, you don't have to have it figured out. You can just come be in your beautiful, messy human self and enjoy this ride, and we're here to support you and figure it out together. So it's another big piece of, like, what I just hope to cultivate and bring deeper and deeper into the community.
Parker Palmer talks about how, like, the question of who am I and whose am I are connected.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're doing that with the, like, okay, what is under the noise? Who are you truly?
Yes.
And then also being in community with other people who are on that same kind of, like, how do we do stillness? How do we be a human being instead of a human doing?
Yes, a human being. We forget. It's like integrated into who we are. And we're just like, nope, we just got to keep going and moving and doing and producing and striving. And so, yeah, it's really important. And to have that support system of people who are like also attempting that is just so nice, because then you feel a little less crazy. You know, when you're like, I'm just going to lay horizontal at 2 o'clock because I need that. You feel a little less crazy, you know?
I like how earlier you said your unique and unusual way. And so, like, normalizing isn't quite the right word, but like that unusual piece of like, oh yeah, like, you can be unusual and lay down horizontally at 2 in the afternoon.
Yes.
And be in a group of people who are also doing whatever they need to be doing.
Exactly. It's important. It's important to distinguish your own journey and your own path, and know it might not look like other people's, but however, we're all human, so there's going to always be those commonalities and thread-throughs. So that, again, that tangible support. One of my teachers says that yoga is a solo journey, but you can't do it alone. And I really feel that. And I'm like, I try to really like embody that in the work I do, so people just know that as a truth.
You have to walk it yourself, but you don't have to walk it alone.
Exactly. I love it.
You also mentioned that you try to, like Reiki's kind of mysterious.
It's very mysterious.
Yeah. So tell us about, like, what you know about it and, like, making it a little less mysterious.
Sure. I can, if you don't mind, I can share kind of my story of how I came to even be at this point, because it has been a journey. When I was in my early, like, freshman year of college, in my early 20s, I was already, like, having my first of many existential crises, where I was like, who am I and what am I doing in this world? And I was on that spiritual quest. So I did, like, yoga on YouTube, and I would listen to Deepak Chopra meditations, and Super Soul Sunday with Oprah was like my jam, and I was reading all the books. Well, somewhere along the way, the concept of energy healing and Reiki came into my field. And I just, you know, Googled it, and I really didn't have many, like, college friends who were as into that. So I just was, like, on my self exploration or, like, quest trying to figure it out. So I found this Reiki share, and a Reiki share typically is a couple different practitioners offering Reiki for either a donation or for free, like small things like 10, 15 minutes, just so people can have that experience. And so I went to one, and I really didn't have too much of a concept of what was going to happen. So I laid down, and I was like, is she going to touch me? Like, is she going to like talk to me about things? I don't know. And I didn't like, I was just like laying there, and the whole time I was in my head, and I was like, this is weird. I don't feel like her hand on me anywhere. Like, maybe this isn't working. I don't know. And I got up and thanked her, and I was thinking, like, maybe that didn't work. I don't know, maybe because she was new. Like, I just had all these thoughts, you know, because we rationalized it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened the door, and I don't know if you've ever seen 500 Days of Summer, but where, like, he is, like, so excited about summer, and he, like, does that, like, whole dance thing with, like, the little animated birds come out and stuff, and the whole music, and the town's, like, dancing with him. It was almost that feeling where I opened the door and everything was just like clearer, vibrant. Like I felt this lightness to me that I hadn't felt ever. And I was like, wow, there's something there. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, I ended up finding my actual practitioner who loved me, and I love her, and we're still in contact today. She just has done my mastership training this past 6 months. And she was like, you're really receptive. So like tried different modalities on me. So I was just very open to it from the get-go. But at first I was like, is this a thing? It's one of those things I really feel like you have to experience to understand. But from like a really like macro perspective, mm-hmm. Two things. One, we all have this life force energy that we work with in Reiki. Within us already and around us all the time. Anything that is animated, anything that is living has this with them. Without it, we're not existing. I like to equate it, since I'm a yoga teacher, to the breath. Like if you're familiar with the concept of prana, prana literally means life force energy. And it is riding our breath. Every time we inhale, every time we exhale, it's in and out, it's with us all the time. Through these practices known as attunements as part of our trainings, what is the concept is we are able to just open up our channels a little bit more, because we're made of so many energy channels. Open it a little bit more where we can bring that through and transfer it and give it to others. So it sounds really esoteric. However, there's been scientific studies on our energetic fields and everything. And in the Eastern realm, like, it's so common to look at people's energetics before even the physical. Like acupuncture works with energetics, the meridian lines. Yin yoga, the meridian lines. Yoga, prana, tai chi, so qigong, it's all like the same. And then the second concept, just to kind of bring it home a little bit more, make it more practical, we have been healing with our hands for as long as we remember, and we do it every day. So think about if you stub your toe or you bump your knee, or a little kid falls and bumps its head. Mm-hmm. The first thing you do is you put your hand there. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for that. Our hands are the only part of our body that can touch the entire rest of our body. So it makes sense that energy and healing can be transferred through our palms. So it's a really like beautiful, gentle modality. And if you're willing and willing to try it, I think it's a beautiful one to explore.
So for the world of depression,
yes,
how does the work you do both with Reiki and Yin Yoga and like your poetic meditations, how does that
we
help?
didn't even talk about that.
We haven't even talked about that one yet.
I forgot about it all. Gosh, I do too much these days, to be honest with you. My poetic meditations, and even just poetry in general, like before I even started sharing out my really yoga and the Reiki, my poetry was the only thing I was sharing. And it was literally brought out of my healing year of anxiety, depression, and panic attack disorders. It literally was alchemy for me, to process what I was doing, and then to be able to share it with others who were also dealing with these things and didn't even realize it. So I think, the power of word and expression is so important. Mm-hmm. But yes, I think the main thing with all three is, again, that reconnection back to self. I know that you so beautifully have kind of coined that depression as disconnection concept, and I really believe in that, because I felt so disconnected at one point. And all these practices helped me to get from that space I was in to here. And that is like the biggest reason why I do this work, because I never want someone to get to that level of like, I don't even know how to despair, and disconnection, exactly, that I was at. So if they already have these tools and modalities to reconnect them and bring them back, and the support and the community, so that they're not alone in this figuring it out, like, that is my greatest joy and my greatest mission and my greatest purpose. Because truly, like, I never want anyone to feel the way I did. And if I can do anything to support them, even if the smallest thing gives them hope that it's going to be okay, like, then that's more than enough for me.
So you do the things you do now because it's what got you out of the pit, out of the dark, alone, the heavy empty.
It did. Exactly.
I think the best work comes out of lived experience. Like, having been someone who's walked that personally, you know more about what it's like.
Yes.
When someone else is there.
Yes, it's so important. And I think also that's a beautiful gift for all of us, because I think it builds a little bit more of a depth of trust, because to have people come to you and say, I'm ready for healing and I'm ready for support, I mean, that is huge. It's huge for someone to first claim that for themselves and then feel safe in the presence of the person that they trust to help them with that. And I think by, like, I will talk about my story all day, every day, because if it can help one person to realize, like, wow, if she did it, then maybe I'll be okay too, then it's like, yes. And I mean, let me reverse a little bit, because I still deal with all these things.
Right. It's not linear.
Yeah, like, I'm not like, look at me, I'm done. Like, I still, like, deal with all these different things we've been talking about. But the beauty of the Reiki and my writing and the yoga and my community I built, it gives me tethers back to myself. So when I'm feeling that way, I know, okay, I'm feeling spirally, it's time to ground. Or I'm feeling anxious, I need to, go be with people who calm me. Like, I need to just rest. Like, you have these tools, and it's what sustains me. And I think that's important to remember, because we do find ourselves, especially like you and I, like, we're doing the work, we're helping the others, but it doesn't mean our journeys are complete. And so I never want people to feel like, oh, like, it worked for her and not for me, or like she's done with the process and like I'm still struggling or something, because, like, we're human.
It's not about this, like, I've arrived and I'm healed and everything's good. It's like, oh, it's ongoing. It's unfolding. It is continuing.
And it's just like, I just have this little extra, like, lived healing experience that I would like to share with you now. It doesn't mean that,
It's not hierarchical.
It's not. Yeah.
It's in my world, it's, you are the expert of your life, and I'm just here to facilitate that inner voice. Like, it's not this top-down, outside voice thing.
Exactly. It's just like holding that space for one another and just learning and sharing. And just, again, that communal aspect is so important.
And you're so good at holding space.
Thank you.
I love being in all the spaces you hold.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, as on this, like, healing journey of anxiety and depression and all the twists and turns it takes, where's your favorite place to meet people who need help?
Oh, to meet people who need help.
Like, do you go in pit of depression? Do you, when they're like, I have no idea why I'm feeling this and I'm just starting to experiment with things? Or like, I've been in and out of this for years. And where do you come in?
I never really thought of that, but I love that question. I think I really come in when they're ready. Like, I can't really pinpoint, because I've had all walks of life.
You can meet anyone, anywhere, it sounds.
Yes, and like, I think the best place to meet them, though, is when they have already, like, a little knowing and sense, like, it's time and I need something. Because, again, this work is so personable, and I don't like to force upon, like, anything where it's like, well, now you should try this, when they're not ready, especially energy healing work. Like, I had a situation a couple months ago, actually, where I was teaching yoga at an outside thing, and this person knew I did Reiki, and they knew that their partner was struggling with something, and they wanted me to just work on them right there, right then, but they were, like, very resistant, and I was like, personally, I can't do that. Like, if they ever feel like they're ready, then let them know I will talk to them, I will offer them things, but until they're ready, you know. So the people who are really have that start of that inkling of awareness, like I need something, and they're willing to try it, it's a good place for me. But I've had all walks of life come hang out.
So two things. I'm hearing that like starting with the yoga tends to be like an entry point for people. It's like coming to your yoga things, seeing how it feels to be in your space.
Yes.
And then tell me more about how you know, like what does your knowing feel like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Because you say like the knowing and the willingness to start. What does that look
okay.
What could that even look like?
I think it's when maybe you are on the journey and you just sense into, okay, maybe I tried something and I'm ready to try something different. Or maybe you're just at that brink where it's like, it's time for me to move from this point.
Is it a thought awareness? Is it a body awareness?
I think it can be however people receive that.
What does it look like for you?
For me personally, I have a very strong inner knowing. Like my hand's on my heart right now. Yeah. Like it's here. Like I am very quick. Like if I'm supposed to do something or not. Mm-hmm. Like I don't even second guess it. I don't even dwell anymore.
So you are really clear on what yeses and nos feel like in
very
your body.
Much so. Mm-hmm.
How'd you do that?
I think it's just that continuation of knowing myself and like all these practices and being really in tune with who I am and what I desire and what are my values and what am I aligned with and what are my goals and where am I needed, and just like really a deeper trust in like the guidance, you know, because the guidance is from within, but it's also from something greater potentially, you know, so there's a deep guidance.
That place within us where we like meet and are met by the divinity, whatever you want to call it, source, universe, and like, okay, it's within us and connects us to everything else.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. It just begins to cultivate. I mean, the more you get still and quiet with yourself, you begin to discern what is your voice and what is that of others. And you begin to really sense into like your inner knowing versus what you've been once told, you know, and all these things. And so it's all part of the work I do in the end, you know, at least I hope, you know, people are getting there.
So the goal is that like strength of inner knowing, like you know who you are and you know what you want, you know like how to get started.
Yes. That trust in yourself, rebuilding that muscle, is important.
Yeah, in my framework that connects a lot with hope, which is like goals, agency, and pathways. So you're all about like agency and connecting to true self in community.
Yes, exactly. That's it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we talked about who you are.
Yes.
We talked about what you do. So like you're Loren Clifford, unusually free.
Yes.
Or low.
Or low.
I call you low.
Yeah, that's fine.
What you do is a mixture of yin yoga, all the restorative things.
Chill yoga.
Energy healing, Reiki, and poetic meditations and poetry.
Yes.
How it helps with depression is reconnecting to your true self and to community.
Yes.
Anything else you want to add there? Or does that kind of hit it?
No, I think that hits it. That's true.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And why you do it is it's the thing that got you out of the pit yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you want people to know about how to work with you and where to find you and all of those details?
The best place to connect with me is unusuallyfree on Instagram. I also have my website, www.unusuallyfree.com. You can always reach out to me there, talk to me, send me emails. I have a newsletter, which I'm not very great at doing all the time.
That's not true. I love your newsletter.
But I have like a fancy newsletter, which like every like 3 months it comes out. And then I have like a weekly like, hey guys, here's where you can find me this week, you know, thing that
it's very useful.
It is. Like, here I am. But, you know, I would just say feel into what might feel like, you know, a calling towards you in terms of come check out. You know, I do some pretty regular Sunday morning sessions called Gather in the Park. I also, you know, do it in my healing space, which we're in right now. I do one-on-one Reiki sessions. I have, you know, a couple different events coming up. Like I'm actually coming to Yoga Landing October 5th for a Reiki restorative. So if you're like, let me hit up both, maybe that's an option. But yeah, and And then also, like, if you are like, I don't really know if I want to like go to any of these things, but I just want to hang out with Lo, like, I'm down. So just like contact me, and we can have coffee, whatever you want.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I also want to just point out that you've been in Chattanooga for a while, and you've created this really gentle community. So like, you have a lot of true fans and a lot of people who just really love you.
So sweet.
And who follow you, and I'm one of them. So yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Ta-da!